Hey everybody, it's Rob here. The PTR for Season 9 is now available to download here in the Battle.net launcher for Tuesday, and Wowhead has datamined the entire client and posted the changelog here with a bunch of changes to all the class and a lot of undocumented changes that we have not seen in the patch notes here, such as big nerfs coming to all the temper recipes. I think we're going to get somewhat of a stat squish of additive damage here. Crit damage is getting nerfed. Basic skill temper here is getting a big nerf from 115 to 65. Ultimate damage temper is getting yet another nerf. Fortified temper is getting a nerf. Overpower is getting one of the most massive nerfs on top of the 80% that they already talked about. We are looking here at the 200 mace implicit. And you know, before the patch here, it had 400%. If you're looking here, 400% overpower damage. And this is going down, almost divided by 4 to just 130 overpower damage now after the nerfs. We have changes here to some of the mythic stuff. We have all res nerfs, for example, on Ariad's Bearing and on lots of the generic stuff here. Banished Lords is getting an overpower nerf. We're also getting some minor buffs here to close damage, but most of this is nerfs. The Yen's Blessing is also getting a nerf. Fractured Winterglass, like implicit all-res on amulets, is getting a nerf. In general, it's going to be much harder to reach your all-res caps. You see all the all-res got nerfed here, and a ton of more new unique changes that they have not listed in the patch notes, as well as some of the new elixirs here that have been data mined, where you get reputation. We also have some stuff for the scrolls. We have Obduk side elixirs, so this is going to be very nice for pit farming and stuff. This is the new Horadric elixirs here. Then we also get the Horadric Jewels data mines here, a ton more stuff for the Horadric powers, and also data mine of new pets. There's like a baby goat common pet here that is coming, so you can get a gold in the game. We'll talk about all of this and the diff to the current patch notes that Blizzard has posted, and we just got all the info here in the planner updated as well with some nice Season 9 builds. I'm going to link that below too. And yeah, let's just get into it here. So there's like a ton of changes coming. We're going to start on the top here. This is like all the class changes here that you can see here in a nice little embeds here. So you can already see like kind of the new Enlightenment passive and a ton of the new stuff here. Some surprises for me was there was clarification here that the Lightning Spear is kept and that the Ice Blades are kept. This is already in the game, but you can just see them here. Like it's gonna like transparently tell you. So that's a cool win for the patch for sure. And you can just see like all the changes here, like with the new embedded stuff here. But if we're getting to the nitty-gritty here and starting on the temper changes, you can kind of see here, we're going to be starting with the Barb, and then we're going to get into the generic stuff. So you see on the Barb, there's a lot of nerfs to basically all the additive damage. Sometimes there's a small buff here, but the biggest ones here that stood out to me is Warcry additive nerf. So it goes from 100% to 65%. And then I think the biggest one here is Wrath of the Berserk, actually going down from 160%. So if I go in the game right now and I masterwork this as Wrath of the Berserk, you see here 320%. If I want to masterwork this on my weapon, 320% Wrath of the Berserk damage is active. And this is going to get like down to like 80% here. On a 200, it's still going to be 160. But that is a crazy nerf to the additive damage on all the Barb stuff. And to me, this is a lot of like damage while Tuesday, because Barb specifically, we're going to talk about all the classes, but Barb specifically lost all its multiplicative scaling with this additive stuff. So this is basically all just damage percent. Like all of this could just be damage percent basically, but you have damage while brawling, damage with Dust Devil, damage over time, damage berserking, damage mastery, damage while Wrath of the Berserker is active, damage with Warcry, and all these numbers have been like flatlined and adjusted as in nerfed way down. Some of the more underwhelming stuff got also like a 5% buff here, but mostly it's nerfs. And to me, this is just like more damage while Tuesdays. Like if it's not going to be any multiplicative scalers, I don't really understand why we even need all this like damage on Tuesdays. They've memed on this so much, but this is basically just down additive and all the numbers are relatively the same. So it doesn't really matter what you choose. In some way, it's damage on Tuesdays 2.0, I feel, and I think they could like streamline this a lot more, because all this is basically just going to be additive damage percent in the end with some conditions to it. And then looking on the Druid here, also getting hit very hard. Lightning Bolt is coming down from 200, just cut in half to 100%. So this is like for all the Cataclysm Druids out there. That's going to get like a big adjustment down. And then we obviously here have the overpower stuff here that is getting down, also halved here. This is the overpower when werebear is, when you're in werebear form. So this is also like massively adjusted down, down, down. Small little buff here for the earthen strength percent. This is a new temper that's going to give you some big damage. And I think on the barb, I kind of forgot, we also know about the bash temper. I'm not sure if it's here, but we have the bash temper changes somewhere in here as well. Okay, you can see it here. So the bash temper is 20% cleave. This one is gone. And I think it's now bash dealing, no, hitting twice. So this is the new bash temper. The old one where it cleaves is deleted. And the bash temper is now chance to hit twice. And this is kind of in line if I'm going in game and I'm tempering, you know, like the other stuff here. Frenzy, lunging strike. If this is on a 100, it's all in the 30-35% range. So bash cleaves, or bash now hits twice, is one of the weaker ones. Flay is still better, but I think we're still going to have like a decent bash build. But the problem is this is going to be kept at 100%, while Flay obviously just gets duration, so this stacks indefinitely, right? Yeah, the Druid overpower stuff. Necromancer, also a lot of the overpower nerfs here coming to the entire class. This is like throughout the board. Basically being nerfed on overpower. There's like some slight buffs to the summon damage and stuff. But yeah, you can see here the overpower blood is getting divided by 2 as well. So that's not going to be that crazy anymore. On the rogue, there's not all too many changes. Some nerfs, some small buffs here. Like here, damage next at health after entering stealth. This one gets reduced from 300% down to just 100%. So divided by 3 here on the additive damage on the rogues as well. And then there's still like sorcerer stuff. I think like lightning spear got a nerf here on top of all of the stuff. Shocking gets down. Hydra damage gets nerfed. Lightning spear damage gets nerfed by 40%. And just a ton of nerfs here. The lucky hit gets a bit improved, but the additive damage in general comes down a lot. And even on the Spiritborn, there are some small buffs, but also some nerfs here to some of the stuff here, like vulnerable damage is getting a nerf. The generic stuff is getting a nerf. And then you see here the generic stuff here. This is for Melted Heart, I believe, is getting a bit of a change. And here are the generic changes here. So the biggest one, like I said in the intro, crit damage nerfed. Basic skill damage nerfed. Core skill a bit buffed. Ultimate damage nerfed. Damage while fortify, I don't even know. Like this one also got a big nerf from 100 to 60, almost cut by 2. So there's a lot of nerfs there. And then overpower, of course, here the biggest one, 140 to just 80%. Yeah, that's going to be brutal. And then you can see here the generic res roll on all the uniques got almost cut in 2. You go from like 30% now to 17%. Generic damage gets a little bit of a buff here, but a lot of nerfs overall. Then we have some minor change here to Melted Heart. This is not a big deal, just wording change. And then we have it here, Barbarian stuff. So the Ariad's Barbarian, you can see it in action here. It goes from 35 res down to 20. And with the implicit nerfs, the res cap is going to be very hard to reach, I feel. We'll see on the PTR. Good thing is we can give feedback on this. Yeah, Banished Lord implicit got a bit nerfed. What else we have here? So some small buffs here for daggers, getting more additive damage. Very small, minor things here though. And it basically just keeps going like this, right? Like there's like a lot of additive changes. I'm going to link the full patch notes below. And also funny enough here, Malaldi also getting a bit of an overpower nerf. We have like all the new stuff here, the new books here to craft the new Hoedric powers here on Tuesday. Shut of the Run Seal got another nerf on the implicit a little bit. This is just minor things here. But then here, Yen's Blessing again from 35 Ores down to now 20. And then you still, some people still have this like infinite damage gloves that was just a placeholder. This one has been deleted. The item is now worthless. Some people still have this from Season 8. And this was doing infinite damage on the rogues. That's also been gone in a way. And yeah, you can see then here the implicit. So there's implicit changes. Damage over time is a bit buffed. Bows are getting a nerf. The implicit bows goes from 115 down to 100%. Crossbows also nerfed. The vulnerable damage. Daggers a bit buffed. Yeah, Focus has the unique one. And then here maces. This is probably the biggest one. So 100 mace, guys, from 130 to 50 divided by 2.5 or something. Vulnerable damage on pole arm also goes down. You go from 115 to 100. So all the implicits pretty much nerfed some minor buffs here. Swords also nerfed, the most popular ones basically. 200x with dot damage, actually a bit buffed. So I think it's going to be the season of the dots, especially with some of these crazy dot multipliers that you have here. If you're playing the Flay Barb, for example, you have this one here that makes your Catalyst basically into a Rupture with the Saffron Gizmon. And you also have the Tyrant Bane, basically Bane of the Stricken, like significantly buffing all the dot builds. So that's going to be pretty insane. 200x nerfed. And then here, the biggest one, guys, the Maze, 400% down to 130. You can see how this crazy implicit is here. So you have 400%. That's one nerf. So you're going down to 100. And then if you were, you know, masterworking the overpower here. Let me see if we have that here. So if you're masterworking the overpower, this one also got more than cut in half. So this is the OG plan. You see 170, 110, 280, and it's now going to be like 100%. So you're going down from like 400 plus 300, like 700 overpower is going to go down to like 200 or something. So like you're going to be losing a lot on overpower, and basically the new overpower is basically as valuable as crit damage now, and then just take crit damage, right? Summon damage gets a bit of a buff, also I like this on the maces, that's pretty cool stuff. But yeah, throughout the board, massive nerfs here to all of this additive. It's almost like a bit of a stat squish, people have been asking for this. Then there's some sigils here, Datamine, okay, there's a jewelry cache, we already know about this. Then there are the elixirs here, so there's an XP elixir. Usually I think it's 6%, now there's a 10% multiplier. Then there is a gold find elixir, pretty cool if you like lacking gold. There's an Obduxite elixir, this is gonna be only for Nightmare Dungeons though, so you probably can farm like some good Obolts here. And keep in mind the Obolts is buffed like crazy, so that's a good gun buff for you. Then we have monster kills, can drop Horadric Files. This is gonna be pretty nice. And then we also have more Horadric Favor, guys. So this is gonna allow us to basically get some of the reputation, I think, for the season board. And combined with this, there's also new scrolls here, Scrolls of Horadric Knowledge. So this to me kind of confirms that we will still be able to farm mythic uniques like once every like 10 minutes we can get a spark by just creating a new character. They're not getting, or they're keeping these scrolls in the game where you can exchange Horadric Knowledge, I guess when you max all your powers, just like in the current season, what you do with the Spectral Ashes. So once you have maxed all your powers, you can convert that Spectral Ash into reputation with those scrolls. And I think it's going to be the same thing. So that means a free mythic uniques in the new season for everybody as well. It's going to be not a problem to get them. I already made a video about that. You can just exchange the scrolls on a new character and basically get a free spark every time, every 10 minutes. So this looks to stay in the game. I kind of like this. It's going to make it very easy for people to get their mythics, basically. So that's pretty cool. Then we were at the elixirs here. Then there's also like all these Horadric jewels data mined, basically, like how they look and stuff. And then, yeah, we have the Bloody Charm. This is like the catalyst stuff that we've been playing here. I think this is one of the very strongest ones. Like, it reduces your cooldown and it also executes the enemies at certain life. So this is like the Wandering Death power just on crack. Like, because if you are executing enemies, it also reduces your cooldown by 2 seconds. So that's going to be completely wild for like Sorcerer and like pretty much all the other classes as well. Bloody Charm. I think this is going to be one of the most craziest ones here on the PTR. And then like you have a ton more, of course. What else we have? The Journey Cache, okay. Book of Cain, some stuff here. I don't know exactly what this all is going to be. Yeah, we have the Reputation Caches here for the Season Journey. Quaxwoon is getting a bit of a wording change. Nothing too crazy. And then here you can see them listed again here. You see like all the nerfs here summarized basically for all the tempering recipe. And yeah, I think at the very end here we have the overpower one. Worldly Finesse, so this is the new one here. 85% overpower, guys. So almost the same value as crit DMG. That's going to be pretty wild. And then we have the gold here. So these are some of the new pets here. We have like an Ammon, we have a Demon Goat. This is going to be probably the coolest one. We have Little Marley, we have the Baby Goat, and I don't know what this is, but there's a ton of stuff basically here that's coming. And yeah, we'll see what all these nerfs are gonna be on the PTR. Again, we can give a lot of feedback. I think it's gonna be very hard to reach res cap, and overpower, guys, is nuked. You have the 80% nerf that they talked about, And on top of this, they nerfed all this additive overpower. That's going to be pretty wild. So there's a lot more nerfs. We will see how it's going to turn out on the PTR. But basically, none of the S tier builds have survived. But there's also positive stuff to look forward, guys. I'm very much looking forward here to rock the Hydra Sork. This is already a very strong build right now in this season that can already clear Pit 100 and is only going to get stronger. And hopefully there's more of this positive stuff come the PTR here in just a few days. I'm going to link the Wowhead Datamine below, guys. Let me know what you think in the comments. In general, guys, it's a nerf fiesta. And we will see what survives and if we can even comfortable do Pit 100. But we'll see. I think there's going to be a lot of stuff to figure out and to min-max, especially with these crazy powers here. So one of them here like actually disables the monster resistance auras and stuff. So there's some pretty cool stuff. We're looking forward to test it all live here on Tuesday. Take it easy, my friends. GG. If you like this video, make sure to subscribe, leave a like or a comment. I'm also live on Twitch almost every day, so come and say hi.